We've seen the comments, we've seen the changes. Tower's still pretty good, and we're gonna tell you why. Welcome to Tactical Timeout. Consistent secondaries are the best to go with, and for me, the two Tau secondaries, Decisive Action and Aerospace, are the most consistent for one important reason. For Decisive Action, it's not 3 and more, it's hold half the objectives, that's it. It's half or more than your opponent. For Aerospace, there's one really good thing you could do. You can get 3 of them in the first turn on most maps. Pathfinders, you know how important they are, marker lights. Tau really need that. 7-inch pregame move, 7-inch normal move, and you just need to get within 6 inches of the aerospace marker to get it. And most deployment types put you not that far from it. And the most important change with Nephilim is that Pathfinders are Fire Warriors, and Fire Warriors completed at the end of the turn instead of your next command phase. So even though they're very squishy, they can get it off right away, turn 1. And if you don't get turn 1, you have a 7-inch pregame move to just hide them and keep them safe. And do you remember the SWAT team?
Oh yeah, but we're not, are we talking about using breachers, or are we still talking about Pathfinders right now though?
Well, it's still with the aerospace. The Devilfish has a pre-game move, a normal move, and then if you go Monka, which with Decisive Action you should, since you're getting all your points in the first 3 turns, you could just pile out 3 inches, move 6 inches, and that's just huge movement to just get more aerospace. That's 9 points off the bat. 4 points from Decisive Action, and then whatever your third secondary is, plus the primary secondary. That's a lot of pressure on the opponent in the very first turn.
Wow, so you're telling me that Tau are able to they're the fastest ones to get objectives early game. They're like the speed running to get like the maxing out of all the objectives.
Can you imagine getting nearly 20 points turn 1?
That seems really good. That's really good. That means basically what, one secondary is completely maxed out, which would probably be aerospace, I'm assuming?
Aerospace is nearly maxed out at 9. For commanders, since you do want a commander, I recommend taking a naked commander, no weapons, the only upgrade being a shield generator, because let's say you go second, and the last turn, you and your opponent don't have much left, you could still shoot them off, and the one they have in control of, since I wouldn't recommend turn 1 going for theirs, they're gonna defend it to hell. If you're going second, you teleport the commander across the battlefield and just do the action, and it completes at the end of the game instead of your next command phase, even though he's not a Fire Warrior. So that's 15 points from one secondary pretty easily.
Going back to the whole commander with Cold Star, who's just naked, I'm saying that's pretty brave, leading from the back. And then all of a sudden at the end of the game, deciding, I'm gonna jump all the way in front of my enemy to do the objective. You can kill me, but I did my job.
You could kill me, but I've already won.
Yeah.
It's for the greater good.
He dies with a smiling grin. As you open up the cockpit, he's just dead.
And he's mostly there for, Crisis teams took a huge points hit. Like my overall list went over 400 points. Some people's Crisis teams doubled in points, but he could still buff them, auto advance them 8 inches. You can't go brainless anymore. You can't sit back and shoot. So it's all about mobility and positioning. Be where you need to be.
How do you think the whole death striking, deep striking bomb of Crisis Suits is going to do? Has that changed in any way now that you have to take even less Crisis Suits?
I'd say it does change. You'd want to take, I'd say 2 groups of 5, not 3 groups of 5, since they're very mobile, and I wouldn't even deep strike them. You can move one of the groups 24 inches turn 1 at no penalty, since honestly you should be going Montka, since 8 inches from the Cold Star, and then 6-inch move and shoot. So you could go out where you need to be, shoot an enemy, and move on to the objective to get decisive action. It all goes together. And don't take 3 or 4 weapons on the Crisis Suits. Take 2 weapons dedicated to a certain job. At this point, you're kind of playing like an Eldar, high mobility, specialized units. So say a Melta gun and a plasma gun on one team for each model, and then a support system. Support systems are still free, and they buff you. You could get a free marker light against flying units with velocity tracker for an anti-infantry squad, burst cannon and cyclic, multi-tracker. So now you're 6 to hit to explode, and you're already doing like 40 attacks. So you're anti-infantry. But that means you have to know what they can do, and you have to know where to use them. You have to be smart.
How far do you want deep strike them? Where do you typically want them? Like, you got to obviously position them a turn in advance to make sure you have enough deep strike room. Like, what are you going to do for that though? Like,
well, I wouldn't say you need deep strike room since they're so mobile. Keep them on the board at the start, and that gives you a turn to shoot with them instead of hiding them for a turn or two. So keep them on the board. Give them all shield generators and a support system, and you'd be surprised how hard they are to take off with 4 wounds and toughness 5.
I'd say my a good stat line against them would be like strength 8 or strength 10, AP minus a lot, D3 plus 3.
Well, basically, AP a lot doesn't matter. Shield generator.
As long as it goes straight through, that's 4 damage. 1 crisis suit dead.
True.
Jet bikes for Custodes, plink these guys off like nothing.
You don't get many shots though, so you probably won't wipe a unit.
When they go through, that's one single model, gone.
Exactly. But they're surprisingly tanky, yeah.
I'll have to admit, they are, especially even if you get into combat, if I have a unit that can get into combat, commits, and can't take care of them, they're gonna be waiting to next turn for you, shooting all over the place.
Here's the thing, you can't tie up crisis suits by putting them into combat. Since they're battle suit, they could shoot into combat like big guns never tire, and all their guns are assault, so they don't suffer the penalty for shooting heavy in. There's better choices with shooting into combat and moving up, the broadsides. You're not gonna sit back and just mindlessly shoot with them anymore, just have a couple firing lanes that the enemy can't get rid of. You're going Monka, so free advance and remain stationary. Imagine going up to 11 inches with a broadside unit, get them to an objective, and they could defend it hard. They could shoot into combat, they're very tanky. If you give them a shield drone, that's some wounds that they don't have to take. But toughness 5, 8 wounds, 2+ save. Most objectives are near cover. They'll be hell to take off, and I like calling them the Banzai Broadsides. They're just running up, shooting everything, and they're being brave heroes for the greater good.
When you're in the forest, and all of a sudden you hear broadsides, you don't know where they are, but they're like talking in Tau, getting ready to jump you after shooting railguns.
So one thing I've been seeing a lot more, and I'm not exactly sure why since I'm not a big flyer guy and I'm not a big bomber guy, is the Sun Shark bombers. Now, we have Justin here who loves taking his AdMech bombers, and so you have a rough idea about it. What do you think's so good about the Sun Sharks?
The Sun Shark is a fast and very deceptive weapon. It looks very weak on paper. It only has toughness 6, 12 wounds, and a 4-up save. So anything, even a railgun from a broadside unit will wipe it off the board. Or even, for example, any type of anti-air, it's done. Like AP minus 1 has no armor or contempt, 5-up save, it'll just be plinking off wounds very fast. But if you have a full health Sun Shark bomber, it can move 50 inches at the beginning of the turn, fly over a unit that you want dead. If you want, you can focus vehicle units such as a squadron of Sidonian Dragoons to maximize the damage, or even a Lehman Russ. Against vehicles, you get D6 die to roll. On a 4+, you will deal a mortal wound to that model. For any other unit, such as infantry, monsters, or cavalry, every single model in that unit will be a D6 die. So you have a 10-man squad of guardsmen, for example. You're gonna get 10d6 die to roll against that and kill 5 guardsmen. Seems like a really big waste against guardsmen, of course. But you take 2 of them, you wanna fly them over a single target that really needs to die. For example, that Lehman Russ there with armor contempt, 2-up save, toughness 8. Obviously, long-range weapons might be hard, but mortal wounds always go through if you roll it. Or you can, of course, have it like a circus, a flying circus, where Sun Shark bombers will go over different units and target 2 different things, deal the mortal wounds, and of course, fly up the map. Turn 2, it means they come back from reserve. They're gonna follow the deep strike rule. So they're gonna be appearing anywhere on the table as long as it's 9 inches away from your opponent's models. So hopefully you have a good idea of where you want to deploy them. Put them down in your deployment zone if you're feeling very, you want to play safe. If you're feeling very aggressive, put them, closer to your opponent. Because if you know that your guns will kill something, take the advantage of it. Positioning, of course, as we said, for Tau is very key.
There's another thing with the Sun Shark. It gets 12 Imperial Plasma shots, 2 Seeker missiles, and a missile pod. So that turn 2 drop, it could do some damage after the mortal wounds. And it does have marker lights, but you can't use marker lights out of deep strike due to how it works. So you want to use someone else's marker lights to buff it up.
So I really hope that you have some pathfinders that are still alive after you've done your secondaries. I assume that you most likely should have, 2 squads of pathfinders, maybe one in the back just hiding out, popping out in and out, just doing marker lights. The other one probably dead already because he needed that, the objective. But once again, it's for the greater good and they paid the price, so they're happy in, Tau heaven.
Tau heaven. They die for your points.
Yes, and they're happy for it because it's for the greater good. So turn 2 onwards, your Sunshark bombers are back on the field. They deal a heavy amount of shots with the right marker light interactions. That bomber will make up even more points killing things. During your opponent's turn though, if they wanted to kill Sunshark bombers, that's fine because now you have your crisis suits are alive, your broadsides are hiding in the bushes, waiting for the time to jump out and start smacking people with their feet or the railguns, swinging in.
So now we have honorable mentions from the last video since this is an updated Tau tactics. Now, my favorite one was the Tau Flamer. I prefer the Naked Commander for his buffs and just taking cheap aerospace, but we got mentioned the Tau Flamer Commander. You take 3 Flamers, which is 3d6 plus 6 shots, and I would take the prototype system since you could shoot that Flamer in the melee phase. And it's just instant. It all instant hits. With the Ongor Gauntlet, since you want to be in melee, since you could shoot into melee too, it's just a ton of fun. I don't think it's good or great, but oh my god, is it so much fun since you're just auto-hitting with a crap ton of flamers. How can you say no to that?
I say no because I don't like flamers. And I have too many light infantry, so
just
obviously no, I don't want flamers auto-hitting. All my infantry are dead now, they're roasted. Unless it's into your Tau, of course. I got some fried fish, it's okay.
So just remember, movement and positioning is key. Tau may have gotten knocked down a peg, but they're still pretty viable with these tactics.
With Tau, you have the mobility and you have the options to make your opponent think. The more that you make your opponent think and forced to make decisions, the more mistakes they will make. You want to make sure that they make a lot of mistakes so you can come out on top of them. So that's it. That's it for Tactical Timeout. I'm Justin and this is Anthony, and this is Northern Knights Gaming. We hope to see you next time.
Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.